From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 5:30, streaming now.
Now at 5:30, the Great Dine Out. The county working to help keep eateries open during the pandemic by offering customers a little extra financial incentive. And feeling a need, the new effort to help those who don't speak English completely or start their education in their native language. Lindsay.
Topping our lineup, pharmacies across the country are getting ready to administer the COVID vaccine to millions of people within a matter of weeks. We're checking into whether drugstores are ready to take on this task. Rebuilding differently after a natural disaster, how one town turned to new technology that uses less energy. Emergency rooms are feeling the strain from COVID cases. You may need to reconsider where you're getting your care. What should you go to the ER for? And what could be handled better somewhere else?
First at 5:30, COVID-19 restrictions have impacted every Hoosier restaurant, but they've also led to a number of efforts to bring customers back and keep those businesses alive to continue to say, we're open. Hamilton County Tourism is leading one of those efforts right now. WRTV's Kelsey Anderson explains what the Great Hamilton County Dine Out is all about.
Well, the premise behind the Great Dine Out in Hamilton County is simple. You go to several different restaurants in the area. You get a discount when you dine in or carry out. And once you visit 5 of those restaurants, you're entered to win a $25 gift card to another local business. We went to Schoolhouse 7 Cafe to see how they feel about being a part of this new program.
We got you all taken care of. Okay,
Schoolhouse 7 Cafe is in its second year of service. The old schoolhouse turned coffee shop has been a hit in Fishers since it opened.
My vision was for it to be like Cheers, where everybody comes in and we know your name and we know your drink.
Crystal Klotfelter is the general manager of the cafe and says it's because of their customers they were able to stay open through 2020.
Our word of the pandemic has been to pivot. So we're just learning different ways to make sure our customers are taken care of. We take pride in our customer service. We've been very blessed by all of you guys to remain open during the whole pandemic.
Whether you sit inside and enjoy your cup of joe,
Your total's gonna be $728 at the window. Thank you.
or get it on the go, Klotfelter is thankful for the support.
So good to see so many of our smiling faces and loyal customers come back to us, and we know that they're safe and that they are healthy, and it's just been a blessing.
And she says the blessings keep coming as Hamilton County Tourism is backing their businesses with the Great Dine Out.
We know this is a really challenging time, and we want to applaud all of the servers and wait staff and back of house staff who are working their tails off to keep their businesses open.
Katie Utkin works for the organization and says they started this because restaurant owners said they were worried about getting through the month of January.
It's a new winter restaurant promotion in Hamilton County going on now through the 31st, and people can take advantage of deals and discounts at almost 40 different local restaurants.
She says once you hit 5 local stops, you could win a $25 gift card to another restaurant.
We have a lot to give away, and we're going to hope to fulfill as many as possible to make sure people who did all those 5 check-ins get rewarded.
Knowing that they want their businesses to succeed during this hard time is just so heart-touching.
So at Schoolhouse 7 Cafe, if you bring that passport, you'll get 20% off any drink, excluding alcohol. And again, once you go to 5 local restaurants, you'll be entered to win that $25 gift card. To get started, just go to dineouthamiltoncounty.com. Working for you, Kelsey Anderson, WRTV.
It's been a pretty quiet stretch of weather here across central Indiana the last several days, but that's about to change, and pretty quickly here. We've got the clouds, but you can see some fairly widespread rain back across portions of Illinois, starting to sneak into far western portions of Indiana across Vermilion County, making its way toward Rockville and Veedersburg. At this point, just some light showers and sprinkles out there for us. But here's a look at TrueCast as we get to 9:30 this evening. You can see that more widespread rain does move through, and I do think it's going to be fairly light. And it also stays as rain here until we get into tomorrow morning. That's where we've got the chance. We could see a little bit of a light wintry mix, but that would also be on the isolated side for us here, not widespread coverage. Lots of clouds, but hey, we've still got some rays of sunshine that we are enjoying out there. And for the 3rd day in a row, we have made it into the 40s. 10 degrees above average right now in Indy at 45. It's 47 in Shelbyville, thanks to those south winds that are around 10 to 15 miles per hour. And they'll stay up here tonight and keep those temperatures in the 40s right on through midnight. So we've got rain showers tonight, but we've got some snow showers in that Friday forecast. More on that in just a bit.
The headlines can be intimidating. COVID-19 virus mutating, new variants discovered. So we wanted to drill down on exactly what is and is not unusual or concerning about this.
Respiratory virus, particularly RNA virus, tend to mutate. They tend to change all the time, and they do this by when they're reproducing. And the reason we're seeing a lot of variants right now is because there's a lot of transmission, there's a lot of reproduction of the virus.
Dr. Carlos Del Rio with the Infectious Diseases Society of America says it's normal for these types of viruses to mutate. And we're seeing it more now because transmission is out of control. At least one of the recently identified variants can be transmitted easier, and that's one of the concerning parts because more people infected will lead to more deaths. He says in normal circumstances, one person infected with COVID transmits to 2.5 people. One new variant increases the infection rate to 2.9, which might not sound like a lot, but at the end of 10 cycles, the number of infected people is 42,000 with the mutated COVID, as opposed to just 9,000 with traditional COVID.
My advice to people is the best way to deal. If you're concerned about the mutations, if you're concerned about the variants, put a mask, socially distance, stop transmission. We have to stop transmission because that's the only way to really stop these mutations.
COVID variants have not been found to make anyone sicker. They are sometimes detected through testing, but the FDA has warned that there are tests out there that are not as good at picking up variants. The good news is so far therapeutics and vaccines do work against COVID variants, with the exception of one variant out of South Africa where an antibody treatment wasn't as effective. The biggest takeaways always with variants is we all have a part in reducing transmission, and that's the best way to prevent even more mutation. American Airlines plans to make COVID-19 vaccines available to its employees just as soon as it can, but it's stopping short of requiring the shot. The airline says the shots will be available inside medical clinics at its hub airports as soon as they can secure them. The airline told employees it's a personal decision to get the vaccine, but some will have to take time off after they do. Out of an abundance of safety, the FAA says pilots and air traffic controllers can't work for 2 days after receiving a COVID-19 vaccine. Next in our lineup, pharmacies across the country are getting ready to administer the COVID vaccine to millions of people within just a matter of weeks. But are the drugstores ready to take on this task?
Just north of those high prices.
Today, a big step forward in advancing the education of adults for whom English is not their primary language. It's made possible through a new partnership with the Indianapolis Public Library and the Mexican Consulate of Indianapolis. Today, a signing ceremony at the Central Library established a Plaza Comunitaria. This initiative allows adult Spanish-speaking individuals to begin or finish their elementary and secondary education in their primary language. This will help address an education gap for Spanish-speaking adults from all nationalities.
The fact that the population here is growing, the Spanish-speaking population is growing in Indianapolis, and they are hungry to advance in their literacy skills and in their education options.
Students do not have to be of Mexican descent to be part of this program, which could get underway by this fall if the pandemic allows. They will start with the Hawville Library branch and hope to expand to the Eagle and Garfield Park Library branches as well. Lindsay.
As President-elect Biden gets ready to take office, pharmacies across the country are getting ready to put his administration's vaccine plan into action. Pharmacies have a goal of administering 100 million COVID vaccines within 100 days of Biden's administration. And it sounds like a big feat, but pharmacy and drugstore groups say they've been ready for this task. Many pharmacies have been preparing since the beginning of the pandemic for a COVID vaccine rollout, and the CDC had actually started working on a pandemic plan years ago.
Starting back with H1N1, the pharmacies actually helped the federal government and states provide vaccinations. And today, 1 in 3 Americans actually get their flu shots at community pharmacies.
Part of the goal is to administer 7 shots per hour in each pharmacy. Experts say that number is conservative, and they're actually ready to exceed that number. Pharmacy groups say that drugstores will have a dramatic impact on the rollout of the vaccine because of the accessibility.
90% of Americans actually live within 5 miles of a pharmacy. So when you think about this, it's a very easy, natural place to go. It's very convenient. It's very accessible. And the best of all, it has trusted healthcare professionals right within that store.
However, pharmacies do expect to see some challenges along the way. First, there's been a challenge with the number of doses becoming available and the number of people who need the vaccine. Second, plans are constantly changing.
It's a day-to-day situation as far as where vaccine is going. So they may have to turn on, their ability to administer quickly if they get the call or get the email that they're about to receive vaccine. So, the challenge, I think, is just understanding and trying to get as much lead time as possible to know when your doses are arriving.
Groups say that if states need additional help in administering the vaccine, pharmacies are ready to ramp up efforts, but they can't do more until they get the green light from states. More in our lineup, rebuilding differently after a natural disaster, how one town turned to new technology that uses less energy.
Right now.
Perhaps no group is more deserving of the question, how are you doing, than nurses. It's the question we've been asking people from different walks of life all week. For 10 months, nurses have been on the front lines dealing with the worst of this pandemic. Dan Grossman caught up with a few who say the connections around them are what continue to push them through.
I get so awkward on Zoom. I'm just like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Maybe Zoom wasn't the best forum for this.
I do too, and I'm like, what? Like, is this okay?
Marissa Dobbins, Kelly Lind, and Morgan Quinn are all in their late 20s, and what they may lack in technological proficiency.
10 months into this, how are you guys doing?
They do not in perspective or care.
It felt just like this big lack of human connection. And most of the reason that I got into nursing was because I love humans and I wanted to help them.
All three work in a medical ICU, and all three have a similar answer to the one question that can help us on the outside understand what it's like for them on the inside.
I'm tired. I'm very tired. And I'm very ready for this to be over.
For 10 months, thousands of nurses across the country have dealt with the ramifications of our actions. Just under 400,000 Americans have died from COVID-19, many of whom have spent their final moments with no one other than nurses like these three, who don't only shoulder the weight of care, but the weight of entire families.
The weight of knowing that you're the only person in there, that I remember when that first hit me at the beginning of the pandemic, where I was like, if I don't say something, if I don't do my job to the best of my ability or advocate for my patient, there's no one else that is.
Long hours, emotional stress, and few people who truly get it. They say it can be overwhelming, if not for the bond they have forged with each other through this crisis.
There's no way that we could have done this without each other.
People at work, I think, are more understanding of it. So then when you're kind of unpacking, they try to kind of talk you through it and get you through it. But it's kind of nice just to be able to dump it all on someone.
So ask those words. How are you doing? Listen and see the impact it has.
And you're like, dude, mute yourself. I was like, well, where's that button? I don't know.
Just maybe not over Zoom.
It's nice to see that you guys all still have maintained your senses of humor despite all this.
I'm Dan Grossman.
We find temperatures in the 40s all across central Indiana. Enjoy it while you can, because that rain that's going to move in will bring a drop in those numbers. As we check out TrueCast for you here, this is 10:30 tonight. There's a little more widespread, but still fairly light rain for us as we approach midnight. Temperatures mid to upper 30s. So I think overall roads are going to be fine, and it's mainly rain showers. We get to tomorrow morning, temperatures will be right around freezing, but we do have crews that'll be out there, of course, treating those roads. So once again, shouldn't be too bad as we start off our Friday. It will be colder, but especially as we get into the afternoon and evening hours of Friday, we'll have some snow squalls out there, which are sudden bursts of intense snow that could really drop that visibility at times and change those road conditions pretty quickly. But at this point, it looks like accumulations would be minor, an inch or less, and those would be isolated. We'll see a few more snow showers as we go into the afternoon, and temperatures helping us out there as well, as we'll make it above the freezing mark and into the middle and upper 30s. 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, we start to see a few more of those snow showers, and there you can see the deep blues, but also notice the very scattered nature. So not everyone's going to see that snow, and it's not going to be all that widespread for us. It remains breezy, so tomorrow we will have wind chills generally in the the 20s to around 30 degrees as we get into the afternoon. And this active pattern continues into the weekend. Saturday, another chance for a little wintry mix coming our way. And we check out your Sunday forecast, 30% chance of some snow showers there. Again, all those systems, any accumulation would be light. Temperatures then recovering as we get into next week. We're in the 40s with some rain on Thursday. Lindsay?
Whether it's the damage from the wildfires out west or the destruction left by hurricanes that battered the Gulf Coast, many communities are starting this year trying to figure out where to begin. Chris Stewart is in a small town that saw opportunity through disaster to rebuild in a way that would help future generations by harnessing the power of Mother Nature.
The people here in Greensburg, Kansas know the pain of so many communities across the country, but it's how they responded to their natural disaster that has set a possible example for how other communities could rebuild going forward.
Every now and then I'll get a client that comes in that may be visiting or they're working here for a while, and they'll start asking questions.
You don't hear about it too often anymore inside Debbie Boyle's hair salon.
So then you get to talking about it again, and I don't know, sometimes it's like you don't want to talk about it.
But most people who come in have their story from May 4th, 2007.
And it didn't sound like a freight train.
You don't forget things like an EF5 tornado, part of a storm that killed 12 people and destroyed Stacy Barnes' hometown of Greensburg, Kansas.
And I remember pulling up to in front of my parents' house, what was left, and saying out loud, "This is it. This can't be it," just because there was nothing left.
But beneath the rubble emerged a clean slate.
The idea came very early to build in a sustainable manner and using green features in a lot of the buildings.
What's risen is one of the greenest communities in America. Buildings made with recycled materials and stations to charge electric cars. The entire town is fueled by the very force of nature that left it in ruins.
All of our power here in Greensburg is wind energy. There is a wind farm south of town.
It was just the day that I think all of our lives changed.
Today, nearly every corner of the building Stacy Durstein oversees as school superintendent is designed to save energy.
Rooms are set up with a system that senses how much light's coming in the windows, so the lights even use a little less electricity.
Even a geothermal ventilation system moves fresh air in and out of classrooms.
And if we hadn't had a tornado, we certainly wouldn't have had a system like this.
Disaster relief money and private investments have paid for many of the green features in town.
Yeah, I think a sustainable rebuild has worked. Has everything panned out exactly how we thought? Absolutely not. Nothing is perfect. We did have some wind turbines here in town that were for individual buildings, and those proved to not be quite as successful. The maintenance cost for them just ended up being not affordable and not sustainable.
For Last Tangle, this is Debbie. May I help you?
Debbie lost her original hair salon in the tornado. Her current space is next to the only building on Main Street to survive.
I told myself, I'm not going to let this win. You know, I'm going back.
Each year, disaster turns communities across the country upside down. Those in Greensburg say starting over is as much about the kind of energy that powers a building as it is the kind of will that fuels the people to take on the challenge.
You won't find this end point where life will be perfect again. It is about enjoying each day and just taking every small victory and moving forward.
In Greensburg, Kansas, I'm Chris Stewart reporting.
Finally in our lineup, emergency rooms are feeling the strain from COVID cases. You may need to reconsider where you're getting your care. What should you go to the ER for? And what could be better handled somewhere else?
No payments, no interest for 12 months.
Emergency rooms across the country are under pressure as the pandemic continues. According to the COVID Tracking Project, the majority of states are experiencing record numbers in hospitalizations, and this affects all departments, including emergency rooms. Experts in emergency medicine tell us hospitals don't just have a higher number of patients, but emergency calls haven't stopped, and they're also seeing more visits from people who believe they have COVID or need testing. With the strain on ER and staff, it's advised that we think about whether we really should go to the hospital or if it's better to be seen somewhere else.
Things that an urgent care can handle can be things like a sprained ankle or a sprained wrist or a pulled muscle or even a cut or a laceration or something to that effect.
Another rule of thumb is if you can see yourself going home after your visit, then it's better to go to an urgent care. Since some of the strain on ERs is due to COVID, people are encouraged to look up other testing sites.
Generally, an emergency department or urgent care has a very limited capacity to do just testing for COVID. So if you feel like you've been exposed or traveled recently or have other concerns, try to access one of those resources on your county's website.
Now, of course, there are cases where you should definitely go to an emergency room. That includes feeling short of breath, having chest pains, or feeling like you're having a stroke. The pandemic appears to have more people thinking about their overall health. Demand for at-home testing kits has spiked for such things as cholesterol, cancer, and vitamin deficiencies. Tomorrow, we'll tell you why this is causing some doctors to worry.
Our weather getting a little more active here the next few days with some scattered snow showers coming up. Kevin Gregory will have more on when that snow could impact your travels. Next week, things calm down a little bit here and temperatures will moderate as well. We'll get those highs back into the 30s and to around 46 here as we go into next Thursday. That will come with the chance for some rain showers, and things should turn a little bit colder behind that system. Thanks for joining us at 5:30.